very popular head coach in Philly, Nick Sirianni, was at the press conference yesterday. And, there's this question now, given the shoulder injury we saw last year with Jalen Hurts, and he missed time, and there was the question of whether or not he was fully healthy all the way through the Super Bowl. And I remember thinking after the Super Bowl, we're going to find out he had surgery on it. If he did, we haven't found out about it. Here's Sirianni on what happens next in the career for a guy who can run it well, who can pass it well. They're paying him a lot of money. Are they going to be careful with him going forward? Here's Sirianni.
Jalen's on a rookie contract. I'm just going to be reckless and do whatever we want with him. And so, we were very careful. I know, and, he got injured. He's gotten injured. But we didn't pay him more to do less. I'll say that, right? Will we still think about how to protect him? Yeah, because that's our job to protect our quarterback. But Jalen does a lot of things really well, and we want to utilize the skills that he has so he can continue to play at a high level. And so, to me, we'll continue to go about our business the same way we went about our business. We'll always think about protecting him first, but we didn't pay him more to do less.
And that makes sense. Look, you're never going to be reckless with your quarterback, but the reality is one of the reasons Jalen Hurts said yes to that contract is the injury risk now goes from him to the team. And if he does have some sort of serious injury next year that affects his career in a way that he can't recover from, or if it is a true career-ending injury, the Eagles are on the hook for it. He's got the insurance that comes from it. So he can just go play football and not worry about that. In what would have been the final year of his career or final year of his contract, thinking about what happens if I get injured, now he can just go play and not worry about it.
Hey, look, one of the reasons why Nick Sirianni and especially Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie feel good about this contract. And look, I forget who wrote it, but this is a very similar point in time to when Carson Wentz signed his ridiculously large contract. Came after a great Eagles season, obviously a transcendent season for Wentz. He just got hurt during the season. But I think the one difference is that, and again, I've told this story on this show a couple of times, Mike, but I think it's absolutely apt and fitting, is that last year when the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Jacksonville Jaguars after the game, I spent a little time with Nick Sirianni and a little time with Jalen Hurts. And two things happened during the course of those 20 minutes with those two guys. Number one, Nick Sirianni said they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's not like it's a Super Bowl matchup. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. And at 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, the previous Tuesday, 5 days earlier, Nick Sirianni looks up, and there in their offices studying to get a head start on the game plan is Jalen Hurts. And he basically told me that I got to tell this guy, will you get the heck out of here? Because he just works and he's so conscientious. Then I go over to Jalen Hurts. And twice in the course of a 10-minute conversation, he called his father Coach Hurts. Because obviously at Channelview High School in Texas, growing up, Jalen Hurts' dad was Coach Hurts. He was his high school coach. And so I think the respect for the game drips out of Jalen Hurts, and the understanding that he has such respect for the game is foremost in the minds of owner Jeffrey Lurie and general manager Howie Roseman. And I think if you gave them both truth serum, they would say, hey, listen, we were shocked at the twists and turns that the Carson Wentz thing took. Shocked. However, it was probably a little bit of a different story, both in terms of preparation and in terms of sort of willing to be coached, as you saw with late in Carson Wentz's time in Philadelphia. So, look, I think this is money very, very, very well spent for the Philadelphia Eagles.
When we talk about these qualities that Jalen Hurts possesses, I've interviewed him, you've interviewed him, it comes through. It's infectious.
Yeah.
And it just makes me wonder, how did he slip to 53? were his physical skills that disregarded? Because the non-physical aspects of his game are unmistakable if you spend any amount of time with him. So it really does make me wonder, and it's got to make the Eagles very happy that they were able to wait as long as they did to get this kid who's become one of the shortlist franchise quarterbacks. What do you think? And I know we won't know until we see the details, as I've been saying. But my first thought, because folks want to say, oh, what's it mean for Justin Herbert? What's it mean for Joe Burrow? Did Jalen Hurts have this deal done? What's it mean to Lamar Jackson, the guy who's still at impasse with the Ravens? Is this the thing that's going to break the ice? We did a side-by-side of some of the key factors earlier this week, and I don't think it's going to move the needle for Lamar Jackson. It's not going to make him say, hey, just give me the Jalen Hurts contract. I think he's still going to want more.
Well, I don't think it moves the needle at all, other than to be one more exclamation point to Lamar Jackson. Look, dude, you give guaranteed contracts in the NFL very sparingly, if ever, and you've missed 34% of the snaps in the last 2 years. A general manager would have to be irresponsible to give you a fully guaranteed 5-year contract, which is what you want and which Deshaun Watson got. But I do think, Mike, that if this is just one more brick in the wall, that there have been 10 contracts signed by quarterbacks since New Year's Day 2022 that have been for average salaries of $20 million or more. 10. Okay, 9 of them are not guaranteed. And in fact, depending on the guarantee in this, which is unclear yet, there's not a single one that's over 70% other than Deshaun Watson. And so, that defines outlier to me. And look, I just don't think this is going to get done if Lamar Jackson just continues to say, got to be fully guaranteed, got to be market value. Now that market is $50 million, so I've got to have a fully guaranteed contract worth $50 million a year. And look, on the Ravens side, I think it's been clear for some time that the only way that this makes sense for them is to give him a fully guaranteed 2 or 3 year contract. That way, if the injury bug continues with Lamar Jackson, then in 3 years, after probably overpaying him, that you are going to be able to just get out of it and move on. But to me, I just think this does nothing to move this toward the goal line.
The most important factor that we uncovered this week, and I don't know how much of it was already reported and how much of it was new. I know the one thing that was reported over and over and over again starting last September 11, I believe, the first day of the regular season, $133 million. That was the full guarantee that the Ravens offered. And that was all we got. And I think the message was intended to be, can you believe it was only $133 million? And one of the big things that I had been saying is the practical guarantee is just as important. And the practical guarantee means, as a practical matter, how much injury guarantee flips to full guarantee after one season, March of the year after you sign it, because the guy's not getting cut after 1 year. Those guarantees are going to vest. They're going to go from injury to full in March of the year after you put your signature at the bottom of the contract. And for Jalen Hurts, the practical guarantee, the amount that vests by March of next year is $126 million. For Lamar Jackson, forget about the 133. By March of 23, last month, if he had taken that offer last year, $168 million, not 133. Slightly different perspective on what that deal was worth, and a very important difference between him and Jalen Hurts. He ain't touching that Jalen Hurts deal. That Jalen Hurts deal is not going to move the needle, and I think he's going to have a hard time getting to the point where the Ravens would even do 168 practical guarantee, given what happened last year with the injury situation. That's the one thing that hasn't come out about whatever negotiations are occurring between the Ravens and Lamar, Peter. If I'm the Ravens, do I put the offer back on the table that was there last August? I'm not so sure I do.
I wouldn't. You've got more evidence to suggest that And I hate to be a broken record on this because there's so many people in the media that just don't talk about it or gloss over it. Look, if Lamar Jackson were Cal Ripken, and I don't mean white versus black at all, but what I'm saying is if Lamar Jackson played every game or virtually every game, and, he would have, I think, a very good argument for a fully guaranteed contract. Very good. But I just think right now it's irresponsible to think that you should give a guy who's missed that amount of time, who has started and finished one of the Ravens' 12 December and January games in the last 2 years. I don't know. I don't understand why anybody would think that, oh, yeah, guaranteed contract for 5 years is a real smart decision. And please stop throwing the, he won the MVP. He's an MVP winner. Yes, he is. Everything is considered when you negotiate a contract. The MVP win is why we're talking about all this, is why he should be paid in a short term at the absolute top of the market, and you won't get any argument. I doubt you'll get any argument from the Ravens, honestly. To pay him on a short term of 47 to 50, whatever the number is per year. But we're talking on a long-term basis. It just really doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
The bottom line is this, and to not sound like a broken record either, at some point Lamar Jackson has to say yes to something. The example we used earlier this week, if he's got a car he's trying to sell and he's got a price on it of $50,000 and nobody's offering more than $30,000, at some point you're taking $30,000 or you're not selling your car. At some point Lamar Jackson has to accept an offer or he's not playing football this year. And we'll see how it plays out. But at some point he has to say yes. And hey, there may be collusion going on. There may be all sorts of things happening that aren't fair or just. At some point, he's got to say yes to the best offer he has, or he's not playing football for the Baltimore Ravens or anyone in 2023. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.